Welcome back to my channel. It's Dr. Dave. This video is going to continue the pre-med series about talking about everything pre-med related. This video particularly is focused on the 3 qualities that you need to cultivate in yourself to maximize your ability to get into medical school. The first one is complete self-belief. You need to have complete conviction in your ability and your desire to get into medical school. Number 2 is persistence. And number 3 is delayed gratification. So I'll talk in detail about all 3 of these throughout the video, but those are the list. I would highly recommend you listen to the explanation behind them because that will help you to understand where you are lacking in these qualities and how to cultivate them. And these are not something that I had naturally, and it came over time and over practice. And I realize even now, 10 years in the medical field now, looking back, these qualities, if I cultivated them sooner, would have certainly helped me in many different ways throughout my career so far. So the first thing is complete conviction. So the amount of self-belief you have in your ability to get into medical school and then be successful in medicine is a direct reflection of how well you're going to do. And I strongly believe this because throughout the medical journey, you face a lot of challenges. And there are people who at various steps of the journey kind of don't want to say give up, but they change priorities. They say, okay, maybe this is not what I wanted, this is not what I envisioned, and then they kind of change directions and paths in their life. Some don't complete medical school, some don't complete residency, and then some become staff and then choose not to work for the rest of their life. So there is very different levels, and it just really depends about who you are and who you become throughout this journey. So really, I think if you're in the pre-med phase, you don't really need to think about long term. I think you need to really focus in on why you want to be a doctor and what's driving you. If money is driving you, if status is driving you, I would encourage you to rethink and maybe really consider other avenues where you can get those things probably a bit easier than in medical school. Or medicine's not the way to make a lot of money. There's a better, more efficient ways. So I would just say, while you're developing this complete conviction in yourself, use that as a way to brainstorm and figure out what really are your values and why you're pursuing medicine. Because the clearer you are within yourself, the clearer you will be able to make decisions and take actions, take courageous, bold actions that will help you kind of be successful throughout the application process and then in medicine. So again, the complete conviction thing is very important. A second aspect of that really I want to focus on is in undergrad, we meet a lot of people. Like I remember first year, second year, I was meeting like 100 people a day. I remember my Facebook account like growing, several hundred people within a few months. And it was shocking, right? Because you're meeting so many different types of personalities, people with different values, people doing cool things, people doing different things. But one thing I remember hearing a lot about through my friends and people and classmates, I did my undergrad in biochemistry, as I mentioned in the other video, is that there was a lot of comparison. People comparing like marks, who they're doing research with, people are comparing their backgrounds, which schools they're applying to. But more notably, like people in the pre-med programs are always talking about, oh, did you hear about X and Y who got into med school? Or did you hear about X and Y? And this, I used to remember this a lot. People would say, hey, did you hear about this guy who had a perfect GPA, but he didn't get an interview? Or this guy who's like an Olympic athlete, but he didn't get into medical school. And it's like, you hear these stories, and if you really take that on and if you start believing them, I think it's going to really affect your morale. It's not going to be affecting your self-belief in a positive way. And I think this is what really stops a lot of people from even trying and applying. So I think this is why it's the number 1 quality you need to really focus on, is because if you're listening to a lot of the outside noise, different people's stories, you'll start to doubt yourself. And once the doubt seeps in, you're not even going to write the MCAT, you're not even going to write the application or apply a second time or think about alternatives. And you're really just going to stop short of chasing and fulfilling your dream. And so I really don't want that for you. Like if this is a dream for you, it's good to research and hear other people's stories and take lessons from it, but don't take on the outcomes from it because that's their story. That's not your story. That's not your life. So again, that's one thing, complete conviction. And you can cultivate that. You can start with an interest and a passion, and then you can create a stronger conviction as you continue along the journey. So that's something that you can build and you need to be conscious of so that you're not letting other people affect your conviction in a negative way. Number 2 is persistence. I mean, this I think ties in with the first point. If you're very self-convicted that you are going to do this, you're going to become a doctor no matter what, or you're going to help people no matter what, you will find a way. And that's where persistent comes in, because maybe the first 2 or 3 different ways you tried didn't work out. If you look at statistics for Canadian North American schools, for med schools, the average applicant has applied like 2.9 or 3.2 times before they've had an acceptance to medical school. So that just shows you that's like 3 years of applications after your 4 years of undergrad. And so that's a lot of cycles on average. Some people get on the first try. I was lucky that I got 1 interview, in my first cycle, and I just got lucky and I got in. But some people I personally know who have applied 6 times and then have gotten in, and they're just as happy. It's just up to you. Like, you don't need to, second time you don't get in, the third time you don't get in. It's up to you whether you stop that and don't pursue that dream and, change priorities and shift to something else. But if that's really a big goal for you, a big dream for you, and again, back to point number 1, if that's a big conviction for you, I would say persistence is the way you're going to get it, one way or another. And I know so many people who think of alternative ways, like Canadians I know have gone to some American school, a couple of friends who went to Australia, and a couple of friends who went to the UK. They come back to Canada or the States, and now they're practicing physicians. They're living a good life. So it's really up to you, and the more persistent you are and you can cultivate that quality, the more you'll find ways to make it work. And I think these qualities that I'm talking about apply to not only just medicine, but also other broader aspects of life. So I think overall there's still good qualities to cultivate. And then the last thing is delayed gratification. In medicine, throughout the whole journey, whether you're pre-med, in med, residency, or staff physician, you will find that medicine is not prone to instant gratification. Maybe if you're the emergency doctor or anesthesiologist, and sometimes in ICU as an ICU doctor, we have acute, cases like a patient who's crashing, whose oxygen levels are 50%. You intubate them, put a breathing tube in, and their oxygen levels come up to 100%. I mean, that gives me instant gratification. To be honest, I completely love that aspect of medicine, and that's why I'm in ICU. And surgeons have a certain element of that as well. But overall, the journey of medicine, you have to really get used to delayed gratification, whether it's you're training for 10 years before you can practice in your specialty, whether you're applying 4 times before you get into medical school, whether you're doing all these clerkship rotations of specialties you're not even interested in, whether you're doing psychiatry or pediatrics, which personally I didn't find as interesting, wasn't really aligning with what I wanted, and you still have to do them, right? And so that's just part of the journey, that you will have to do things that you don't want to do. You will have to accept certain sacrifices, keep the bigger goal and bigger dream in perspective. And that's what delayed gratification is. It's giving up how you feel now or future feeling that you're going to accomplish. And so it's really reminding yourself when you're on your 30th hour of overnight call, you're like, I know this is going to pay off in the future. And so cultivating that kind of mindset will really be helpful and take you far, whether you end up doing medicine or you don't. I think it's still going to be a valuable skill and valuable insight for you to adopt. And I would say these skills, I'm cultivating them. Again, it's on a spectrum. It's not like you either have persistence or you don't have persistence. Everything is on a spectrum. And so all the 3 qualities I talk about, your complete conviction, persistence, and delayed gratification, it's going to be on a spectrum, and it will change. Some years it might be less, some years it might be high. And there were certainly times where I was burnt out and my persistence was pretty low. And I was like, honestly, I don't even want to go to the next shift. And so it will fluctuate. All that to say, it will fluctuate. But I think keeping these 3 qualities in mind and trying to cultivate them consciously will probably give you the best mindset to approach and apply for medical school and start your medical journey. I hope this is helpful. Comment with any questions or concerns you may have. Happy to respond.